Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to bring to you another sponsor spotlight. And we're talking about EP Mixer 2025. Specifically, we're facing EP Mixer NYC and New York coming up on June 12th, Thursday, June 12th, from 6 to 9 p.m. Get yourself registered. But we're not necessarily here to talk about that, but we are here to talk about one of our fantastic platinum sponsors, and that is Blackcloak. And with us today, we have their Director of Alliances, Mr. Shane Pitzer. Shane, thank you so much for taking the time and being here and talking to us.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Craig. Looking forward to the event.
Yeah, no, we are too, and we're glad that you're part of it. But I want to talk real quick and set some context about Blackcloak. So I'm going to do just everybody kind of gets an intro here. So I'm going to do yours, and I'm going to do Blackcloaks, and then we'll talk to you more a little bit about getting into the nitty gritty of it. So Blackcloak secures the personal digital lives of corporate executives, high net worth individuals, and their families. They tailor their specialist technology, expertise, and supports to deliver bespoke solutions that protect the privacy, devices, and homes of our clients from cyber threats in an increasingly connected world. Used by Fortune 500 companies, recommended by wealth management firms, and trusted by private family offices, the Blackcloak platform is an award-winning cybersecurity solution enhanced by personalized expertise for holistic support 24/7. With Blackcloak, high profile individuals get peace of mind knowing their family, privacy, reputation, and finances are secured, while CISOs and CSOs can be confident that their people and organization remains protected without invading their executives' personal lives. Learn more at the website, but we're going to learn more right now with Shane. Shane, thank you so much again. Appreciate it. And as time is of the essence, because as you and I know, this is take two. So I appreciate your patience. But we're going to just go ahead and jump right into some questions for you. And I want to talk about pioneering. Blackcloak is recognized as a pioneer in digital executive protection. Please, if you could and will, elaborate on how your platform uniquely safeguards personal digital lives of corporate executives and of high net worth individuals.
Oh, thanks. So, yeah, Blackcloak pioneered personal cybersecurity back in 2018, and I have to emphasize on the personal side. Most of us are protected on the corporate side, but once we leave those four walls, we're no longer protected, right? It's not just us, it's also our families. And as a father, that's, hit home, right? I have kids walking around with devices and they want to click on everything. AI assistance is wonderful. We all want AI assistant, but they act on your behalf. They need to consume your data. And what did we just give access to in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's four areas that Blackcloak focuses on both the corporate enterprise side and then also on the high net worth, family offices, wealth management side. First is privacy. Data broker removal. It's a commodity, but it's important. A lot of our competition does it, but its protection is more than privacy. But we do need to clean up information out there about us. Where we lived, our home addresses, email addresses, all this information that's just kind of creepy when you start Googling yourself and finding it, right? So we want to go out and remove all that. We also want to look at the dark web. We want to look at what kind of credentials have been stolen, through data breaches, through just poor password management. We've all done it, including myself, right? It doesn't matter that I have 25 years of cyber experience. I mess up like everyone else,
Sure.
especially if I'm in a hurry. And then we're looking to make sure that those credentials are not being used on the corporate side, also on your personal life as well. So past the privacy, and that's important to find out, oh, they have a lot of information about me, but what are they doing with that information? What's the next logical step? We want to then look at the personal devices. So we will actually work on corporate phones, personal phones, iPads, and personal laptops and computers, right? We want to give that same level of protection that the corporate has on the personal lives, right? So we have honeypots and deceptions. So someone tries to log in those devices, we can see they're using certain credentials. We can alert the individual, but also alert with their permission the corporation that those are being used. We want to lock those devices down, making sure that they're not being tracked. If you get access to a to a cell phone, you get access to personal email, calendar. Now you know the whereabouts and the movements of those individuals. It makes much harder for the EP team to protect you physically. Next from there, which is the most important space, is the home. It's the soft underbelly of corporate America now, right? It's the easiest target. We have so many different devices connected, right? So once a week, Black Cloak performs a weekly vulnerability scan. We're looking for open ports. If we find an open port, it's kind of like an open window on a house. Maybe not a big deal. It's a hot day, open that window up, right? Or maybe we're going out of town and that window shouldn't be open. Let me go check that out. So we'll actually perform an enterprise grade penetration test, see what we can get access to, red team, if you will, for our clients. We've gotten access through smart pianos, thermostats. I mentioned before, the refrigerators talking to the toasters, talking to the television. They're having a party, right? And everything talking to each other can be reached from the outside potentially. Right. So, in situations of like Travis, Kelsey or Patrick Mahomes or the NFL break-ins, those were sophisticated operations. There weren't just people breaking down a window, right? They were gaining access to those networks, right? And then lastly, the piece which I believe is most important, the most we're proud of, is our security operations center. We're 24/7, 365. When mess is hitting the fan at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, we answer that call. Right. So for our clients, whether it be a financial issue, whether it be an account takeover on social media, they've been hacked. We are there to and put one of our specialists on the line. They are roughly at 35 to 40 analysts, all US based, not outsourced Black Cloak employees. So that portion is extremely important and is used quite often by our clients.
Pretty robust. I'll tell you that, and I think we'll get into that a little bit more. I think because you started to answer another question that I had for you, and so I'm excited to get a little bit closer to that. But you mentioned a little bit earlier, some maybe in our first conversation, enterprise versus or corporation versus individuals. So with with cyber threats increasing. Um, and they're targeting executives in their personal environments. How does Black Cloak bridge that gap between corporate security measures and personal digital security?
In most instances, we work with the corporation because we are at the order usually does the purchase does come from the organization purchasing on behalf of their executives. It could be one, five, could be 150, 200 of their clients. The organizations that understand the impact of personal lives onto their company, this is a much smoother operation, and they want to be a part of that. Matter of fact, their executives that we cover, we have a CISO dashboard. So they can, with the permission of the clients, because it's personal,
Sure.
be able to see how much data did we remove, what information did we find on the dark web about our clients that could be impacting the security of our customers. They like the separation of church and state. There's not an IT administrator out there that wants to talk to the mother-in-law or the kids about their TikTok account, right? Hey, you need to lock down Roblox, right? It's
Right.
not a comfort. There's also privacy issues there. And so they want to be able to be away from that, touch it, but also know that it's being covered. It's also the impact, whether the CEO has an event in New York, that is a hit to the bottom line for that company, right? So they understand it's not just about protecting. There is a financial aspect there as well. That they could be hit. And there's been situations in LastPass where a home network was targeted for an employee, got in through their personal laptop. The same credentials were used for their corporate login. So they were able to get into LastPass and steal, I think, 350 million passwords, all because of a home network on a personal device that wasn't being protected. So, I went to an event, last week in DC, and the conversation, not just one speech or one panel, the whole day was dedicated of the physical to cyber merger and coming together. And then how do we get more budget for the cyber piece as we go ask for digital? And I think that's it. And that's part of the event. And while we go to the EP Mixer is to have conversations and say, hey, if we don't lock down this digital side, how much harder is it make your job? And everyone says, yeah, there's blind spots. We need more intelligence, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's a combination of all of us when we meet with these CISOs, when we meet have these conversations and say, hey, yes, they're siloed. We need EP firms to be very good at what they do, and we need cyber to be very good at what they do, but they still need to talk. They need to know about each other.
Mhm.
So those worlds coming together is absolutely critical, and I only see that advancing and becoming more holistic.
And more and more, and I couldn't agree more. Of it's kind of been talked about, and obviously it's more and more. But I think back 15 years ago, and it was like, yeah, that's not such a big deal. And 25 years ago when I started into the industry, it was like, you like you had the bodyguards, they were big and, maybe they were skilled, but maybe they weren't. Chances are they weren't, but they were big. And so that was good enough. And you weren't near the digital age that we're in now. You weren't near the AI. You weren't near any of that stuff. And I think it not only is it going that way, but I think it accelerates. Like, and you're the professional, but I mean, I feel like it accelerates every day. It just gets faster. So, um, anyway, again, we
Well,
could,
even like movies, right? Movies before were all about brute force and going in through the front door and machine guns. And now it's like when you watch Mission Impossible or you watch Ocean's 11, it's all about the digital stuff. It's all
sure.
about taking under surveillance. It's about finding information. It's about OSINT. Well,
Hmm.
all of this is carried over to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that there's a very small chance, luckily, that anything physical is going to happen to our principals, right? It's rare. But there's a 100% chance their lives are being attacked digitally,
Hmm.
guaranteed,
Yeah.
right? From our
Yeah.
families, everyone, so it's not if, it's when,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I've gotten those notice of like, hey, this company that have an account with was hacked. There was a breach or whatever, and whether they were going after my stuff or not, my stuff still went with them. And so I wasn't targeted, but they were. So, earlier in the conversation, you were talking about having somebody online. With them if something happens at 2 in the morning. To me, that sounds like a concierge level type of thing. So your platform offers concierge level cybersecurity and privacy services. How does this personalized approach, um, how does it enhance protection for your clients and their families?
Well, it's not, it's preactive, it's preemptive approach and making sure that we're removing information, we have the devices locked down, but it's also training, hey, this new patch came out for iOS, or hey, your children use Roblox, or your children use this particular devices. Let's lock this down. Let's go ahead and add guest networks at your house. Let's do a firewall review. It's being having someone to call and say, hey, I just got this text from the tollway authority in India. Pretty sure I paid my tolls, right?
Right.
Or things that are more believable than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can you detonate this for me? Can you take a look at this for me?
Mm-hmm.
A good example is we had a small EP firm out of Florida reach out to me a couple weeks ago. It was almost 10 o'clock at night. It was after a very long day. And he says, hey, I'm boarding a plane. You may not get this in time, but if you do, can you call me? And I called instantly. He's like, hey, you picked up the phone. I'm like, we always pick up the phone. And if he called me 30 minutes later, he'd have missed me, to be honest. But he said we have a client that had a whole account takeover. Her and her daughter, right? They're into the IRS financials. They're into their banking, into social media. They're sending emails on their behalf. They've spoofed their account. There was literally nowhere else for this individual to go. They would have had 10 different companies doing 10 different things. We got an emergency scoping call together, got them online, and then we started hammering out those solutions right away. So we get a financial specialist on to work through working with the IRS and resetting the PIN. We want to make sure we have the dark web making sure that that home IP address is not out there. If we do, we want to make sure we can do about changing that or obfuscating that. We want to make sure that those credentials are not any stolen credentials are not trying to be used to access that home or the devices. But the point was is that concierge level of support that someone is there for you. Some may never call us all year. Some may call us every 2 or 3 days. We love them, right? But the point is that it is white glove and you can't pick up the call. There are certain things. I love my company, but if I call up Scott, one of our IT administrators, and say, hey, my daughter's cell phone's having a problem with a QR code, he'll probably do it, but I probably owe him 10 beers, and so that's the point is there's someone to call for that true concierge level support.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we always answer the phone. He might have missed you, but I'm sure that they had a secondary number that they could call and talk to somebody right then and there as well. So
And
that's
I
big.
want to be clear. I want to be clear on that. We do let it go to voicemail, so
Okay.
we can call that individual back, so that way we know it's on a confirmed device and that person has been vetted. So we don't just start answering questions based on that
Sure.
person if they want to impersonate someone. So.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, yeah. And there you go. And that's why you're where you are. So that's all super interesting. And I loved hearing about it. But now I want to hear about why it's important for Blackcloak to support events like the EP Mixer through sponsorship and through participating.
Well, the interesting thing is the phone call I got late at night was from the previous mixer I had met in Vegas at ISE West, right? So
Awesome.
these are important because a lot of the individuals I work with at the EP firms and agents, they didn't know we existed, or they recommended someone else and didn't know the full breadth of our solutions, right? And there are, they didn't have anyone that could say, hey, I feel comfortable handing this client over to someone to take care of in all these different areas. So it's about education, meeting partners, trusting this market, this area is about, it's not just about marketing. You have to build that relationship. You're shaking hands, looking each other in the eye. And also, too, we're not the end all be all. Like I said, we do digital. We are not gates, guards, and guns, and I don't handle transportation, and I can't have boots on the ground to do certain things, and we need help. So when those calls come into our security operations center and say, hey, who do you recommend for physical, Shane? I'll be brought into a call, in a Fortune 500 call. I have one later today, and I'll go in and ask questions about, what type of security do you have now? Is it going to be family? Are you traveling internationally? Do you need to be embedded? Do they need to be armed? Do you not know? How about an assessment? Once I get all that basic information out, then I'll reach out to a couple EP firms that I've met at these mixers and say, hey, here's who I know and trust, and we'll hand it off to you and make that warm intro. And like I said, back and forth, right? We don't do TSCM, but I have a couple vendors that I work very closely who do that I trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for sharing. That's a success to me. That's a success story of like, hey, listen, I met somebody here and they needed me, and not that we didn't need, or not that we needed them, but like we were there to support. We were there to offer what we can do. So, and you kind of answered this question already, but what value do you see in collaborating with the executive protection community, and how does Blackcloak's mission align with the goal? Align with the goals of this industry?
It comes down to just protecting people. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, for 25 years, I worked in cybersecurity and IT, protecting the Fortune 50, and you can make good money, but there's nothing really tangible to look back and say that you did. This is about protecting people. And this is an area that EP firms need help in. Protection through partnerships. Once again, I cannot say it enough. We cannot do it alone. And we're finally getting to the point where EP firms and physical protection companies are understanding that the piece they do on digital is not enough. It doesn't scale, and it needs to be more open. I do enjoy seeing that now, the more collaboration in the EP space, like we've had in the cybersecurity industry. Because if you look at corporate America, they're not running just HP or Cisco. There's hundreds of products in there, best of breed. So I think, that everyone coming together of the same goal, and the goal is the same: protect individuals and their families. That's it. It cannot be baked down any more than that. And if we keep an eye on the prize there, we put our egos to the side and say, this is what I do well, and here's where I need help, then we're going to be successful to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Again, I couldn't agree more. Not to sit here and completely agree with you with everything you said, but certainly that's one of them. Just the relationships that you build in a short time too. You met somebody, that the event in Vegas was a few hours long. You probably weren't there the whole time. They weren't there the whole time, but you were there long enough to meet somebody and to say, hey, listen, we do have this mutual goal of protecting people, property, their information in this case. Yeah, obviously I believe in it. It's just just my thing. But my big belief is putting everybody together, dropping the egos, and finding success as an industry. So that was great, Shane. I know you got to run. I know we're a little bit over time here.
Good.
I can't tell you that how much I appreciate you taking the time, sticking with me as we had some connection issues earlier. But thank you for being here. Thank you for Blackcloak for being a sponsor.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Craig. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. So, folks, if you haven't already, please head over to EP Mixer. Get yourself registered for EP Mixer NYC happening Thursday, June 12th from 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to be at the Spotify offices in the World Trade Center. It is not to be missed. So listen, again, epmixer.com. Get yourself registered. We'll see you in a few weeks.